Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe and we are here in, of course, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's not New York, even though it's trying to be New York. It's actually Las Vegas. We're here with the news this morning. We've got a few stories to run through. We're going to be talking about Manchester United's new kit deal. We'll also be looking at the latest with Mason Greenwood. We've finally had an update on his future at Manchester United, and also the Rasmus Hojlund deal edges ever closer, and we've got the latest on a medical for him as well. So let's get into it. Right then, let's get into our first story of the day, and as we mentioned before, Rasmus Hojlund, this deal for the 20-year-old striker from Atalanta, 75 million euros plus a 10 million euro fee. We have an update, and that is that his medical will take place today on Tuesday, and David Ornstein has tweeted, Rasmus Hojlund will travel to Manchester on Tuesday to undergo a medical ahead of completing a proposed transfer from Atalanta to Manchester United. As we mentioned before, it's a 75 million euro plus 10 million euro fee agreed between the clubs, and the personal terms are in place on a 5 + 1 year contract. Medical, as you saw, it's sort of a formality, isn't it? Obviously, all transfers have a medical, but it's good to know that it will happen today, which ideally means he might well be ready for the games this weekend. Obviously, we've got the game at Old Trafford and the game in Dublin the day after. I'm not sure which team's meant to be the first team. We saw the Wrexham and Real Madrid games. Obviously, the Wrexham game was very much the youth team, and the Real Madrid game was the first team. I'm not sure what the plan is for those two games in Dublin and Old Trafford. However, it would be great to see Rasmus Hojlund available in one of those games. United, of course, needed a striker for many years now. Really, let's be honest. The last time United signed a striker who was designed to be at the club for a long period of time, it was Romelu Lukaku, and that was 5 years ago. So it's not been the most sort of well-stocked area of United's squad, to say the least. We've had these stopgaps, and finally we're getting someone who is not in their prime, not past their prime, but is still to approach their prime, and someone that we can see grow and flourish at Manchester United. And I think that's the most exciting thing, isn't it? Potential. We all love potential. That's the biggest thing of all in football. That's why transfers are so exciting. That's why young players are so exciting, because what could they become? And as it stands, Rasmus Hojlund could become anything, and we're going to get to see that at Manchester United under Erik ten Hag. And I think this is a fantastic signing. Of course, we now need to not put too much pressure on him. That's the crucial thing. You see these big wages, you see this big transfer fee in particular, and people say, well, he's got to be as good as Haaland. Then I'm already seeing Sky Sports doing, Haaland versus Hojlund. Just because his name sounds the same and they're both Scandinavian doesn't mean the expectation or anything should be the same. They're not the same type of player. They're not the same category of player. Let's be honest, Erling Haaland has been touted as one of the best players in the world for about 4 years now. One of the biggest talents in the world for a long time, since he was a young teenager. Rasmus Hojlund isn't of that same calibre yet. Obviously that could happen, but this idea that he needs to be as good as Haaland, otherwise is a failure, is an absolute mockery, to be honest. Let's move on to our second story anyway. Let us know your thoughts on that. United finally signing a striker that is under the age of 33. Who'd have thought it? This is a big one. This is out of Simon Stone. Manchester United to make Mason Greenwood decision before the start of the Premier League season. This is the first time we've heard basically any update on the Mason Greenwood situation in a very long time, and now not only are we getting an update, but we are getting a deadline on when we will find out exactly what is going on with Mason Greenwood. I'll read some of the article. Manchester United will decide striker Mason Greenwood's future before their opening Premier League game of the season against Wolves on the 14th of August. A number of serious charges against Greenwood, including attempted rape and assault, were dropped on the 2nd of February. The Crown Prosecution Service said key witnesses had withdrawn and new material had come to light. It meant that there was no longer a realistic prospect of conviction. Now, since then, United have been conducting this internal investigation that we've seen Ten Hag quote a number of times, basically saying, we haven't finished this investigation yet, therefore we haven't put out an opinion, we haven't made a decision on Mason Greenwood. The interesting thing is, well, not just interesting, but the thing that we all know is the transfer window ends in 3 weeks. Manchester United need to make a decision before then, otherwise we're going to risk another year of Mason Greenwood being on the books at Manchester United, getting a wage from Manchester United, but not having a future or any sort of clarity at Manchester United. It's good to know that there will be a decision one way or the other. Now, I'm not going to stand here and comment on what I would like to happen, and I've spoke about that on other videos, and the sort of the political side of things with Mason Greenwood is a separate issue. But it's good at least that we will know what's going to happen, and we have this time. Sort of, what's the word? We've got a deadline. The 14th of August, Manchester United's first game of the season. Now, this is my opinion from here on out. This isn't anything that Simon Stone has said. That doesn't give you a lot of time to sell him. That doesn't give Manchester United a lot of time to move Mason Greenwood on, does it? 2 weeks at the end of the window. Obviously, you can get a transfer done in 2 weeks, but this is a particularly complex, a particularly sort of brittle and fragile bit of dealing that United have to do here. To sell someone under these circumstances or to loan someone under these circumstances would be quite complex. Now, the idea that we're going to get a decision on the 14th of August, to me, again, this is my opinion, leans towards they're trying to find a way for him to stay, because it doesn't give him very long to do anything other than that, if you understand what I mean. So again, that's just my opinion. I need to stress that because that's not something that Simon Stone has said. That's certainly not something Manchester United have said. But you would think if they were dead set on him leaving, they could have announced that at the start of the summer, couldn't they? They wouldn't have waited till the first game of the season to conduct this internal investigation when essentially nothing new has happened since February, and all of a sudden it happens to be the day of the first game of the season that we can finally, work through all the evidence, work through all the data and come to a conclusion. To me, that sounds like a bit of a stalling tactic, and one that is maybe pointing towards that. Again, that's my opinion, and I've stressed that 3 times because I think it's critical to make sure that I'm not putting words in anyone else's mouth. But we'll have to wait and see, obviously, and that the update is as I said, that Manchester United will make a decision on Mason Greenwood before the opening Premier League game of the season against Wolves on the 14th of August. Finally, one way or the other, we will have clarity on that situation, because it's been a cloud over Manchester United for well over a year now, and it's a situation that just needs sorting. We need a resolution. We need something to happen there. Let's move on then to our final story of the day, and that is this breaking news as well, that Manchester United have agreed a 10-year extension with Adidas worth at least £900 million. Manchester United have agreed a 10-year extension to their partnership with Adidas. I'm repeating the same thing here, worth a minimum of 900 million. United's new deal with the German kit manufacturer runs until 2035, with their previous 10-year deal having been worth 750 million. So it is an improvement, but if you think of the inflation in football over the last 10 years, so back in 10 years ago, 2013, Manchester United were champions of England. Manchester United had the greatest manager of all time. United had a great squad that had won, 4 of the last 6 Premier Leagues. And now we don't have any of those things. And 10 years ago, I think the world record transfer fee was Gareth Bale at 89 million. It is now killing him, Neymar, at 200 million. We regularly see fees of over 100 million, sort of eclipsing quite comfortably, and in some cases doubling the transfer fee at the time. And yet United's deal is only worth about 20% more than it was. I think that is a bit of an indication. Obviously, it's still one of the biggest deals in the world. It's 900 million is a lot of money, but the inflation in football has done this, and the inflation in United's kit deal has done this. And I think that is an indicator of just the way United have stalled over the last 10 years. I think, on the pitch it's been a huge regression, but I think financially and commercially there's no doubt that we've stalled. And agreeing to a 10-year deal at 900 million in 10 years' time, that might not be such a great deal, but obviously that's what United are capable of doing at the moment, and that's what Manchester United have got. And again, 900 million quid, it's plenty of money, isn't it? I'm not going to sniff at that. It's thought to be the largest kit deal in the Premier League history based on revenue per season. Chelsea signed a 900 million deal with Nike, but that was for 15 years. So obviously you can extrapolate that per season by yourself if you want to. It says that the relationship between Manchester United and Adidas is one of the most iconic in world sport. I mean, we were sponsored by Nike and Umbro not that long ago. I love that. One of the most iconic in world sport. With its roots in the 1980s, our partnership has been reinvented over the past decade with some of the most innovative designs and technology in sportswear. Commercial guff, essentially. Manchester United have signed a new deal, and that is the crucial thing. 900 million coming in over the next 10 years. Right, that's going to be all from me. Make sure you hit subscribe to the channel. We'll be flying back to Manchester today. We'll also have a video coming out, a bit of a tour review, looking back at Manchester United's pre-season so far. It's not done, but this American leg, the bulk of the tour, has been concluded, and we will be looking over all of that later today, so make sure you check that out. And also, I'm going to have all the build-up to both watch-alongs this weekend. We'll be back in England, the Brew, all of that stuff that you know and love from the studio will be coming to your vision very, very soon. Thank you for joining me. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell as well, because that way, when we go live, when a new video comes out, when we're in New York or some other replica city that you find in Las Vegas, you will see it first. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit.